Hello and welcome back to OT, the podcast, where we're here to talk about watch this time and how to spend it. I am Andy Green.
I'm not here to talk about any of those things. I'm here to talk about other stuff. No, nothing came to mind. I'm Felix Schultz.
Hope you've got something planned. Felix, today's main course, Carson Chan, who most people in the watch world would be aware of. He's kind of one of those core industry figures that's been around for a really long time. Really great guy, someone we've known, or you've known for a really long time. I've known for a little while.
I mean, I wouldn't say I was besties with Carson Chan, but you float around in the same circles and you kind of catch up at things, have a drink, and exchange.
He's a nice guy. Knows his stuff. Really, really passionate about watches. Works in watches. I think his role's just changed at the FHH to something a little bit more global, which he's going to tell us all about. But before we chat to Carson, Felix, what have you been doing? What have you been up to?
A few things. I've been getting both of these two things are very bright and colourful.
Sure.
I watched, in terms of quality movie entertainment, I got around to watching Thor: Love and Thunder, Taika Waititi's latest installment in the Marvel universe. Now, this is a movie. Have you seen it, Andy?
No, I did see it. It just hit the streaming services.
I'm guessing you don't have Disney.
I do.
You do have Disney?
Yeah.
Got
it all.
We've got to get you on Only Murders in the Building then. No, Thor: Love and Thunder. It's all right. It got panned a little bit. Like a lot of people were pretty unhappy with it. Like, oh, it's terrible. I think it's unreasonable to expect that every Marvel movie is going to be a banger. This one was enjoyable.
I recall seeing Guns N' Roses in the trailer.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty style over substance, but there were some pretty good moments in it. Christian Bale was creepy.
Oh, just as usual then.
News surprising no one.
Yeah.
And the other, so I don't know. It's a good like Friday night movie. I've had a long week. I want something sort of entertaining that I don't want to have to think about.
I think that's all Marvel films, to be honest. I don't know that there's that much depth to them. That's my personal take, is the sort of Friday night blockbusters.
I mean, even in the world of Marvel movies, this is a pretty light ride. It's saddened me to say there was a vaguely questionable performance by my beloved Russell Crowe,
right,
where he played the Greek god Zeus. And now Rusty isn't of Greek origin, but that didn't stop him from whacking out the old Con the Fruiterer accent for Australians of a certain age. They'll know what I'm talking about. Which I don't know. I don't know how that got past the lawyers and cultural representation teams at the Disney Corporation, but it was all right.
I don't know. I think Chris Hemsworth just sort of calls in any acting he does these days. I don't think he takes it too serious.
Oh, well, why not? No, the other colourful thing is something I've been wearing. We got sent these a little while ago, and I finally got around to borrowing it off you, Andy. Zodiac.
Yes.
Zodiac Super Seawolf. Zodiac is a very interesting brand. They've been doing some good things. They released some titanium watches. They've got, a very sort of interesting market niche on colourful divers. They did a collab with Worn and Wound a little while ago that was super 90s and super cool. But this one is silver dial with watermelon bezel, and I'm going to say sort of like a mandarin in a minute ring. It's a very appealing dial.
Yeah, I think the watermelon combo is one of the favorites from the lineup. You definitely insisted I gave you that one to wear.
There was another one that was black, and you're like, oh, which one do you want? And I'm like, do you need to ask?
Yeah.
Example of how sort of striking it is, my partner, who generally doesn't care about any of the watches that I have, she commented on my Instagram going, I like this one. So it stands out from the pack. It's nice. It's good to wear. I've got it on a NATO. I can't be really bothered resizing the bracelet, and it goes well on the old Artem NATO. I will say, I don't know if you've spent much time with it, Andy. The crown is a little bit small for my taste.
You got those big fingers.
Even so, like it's a pretty thick case, and it's a sort of solid. I don't know what 40. I'm going to say about 40 millimeters. I could be wrong, but the crown is rounded at the top, which makes it hard to sort of grip onto. It doesn't work for me.
Interesting.
It's my only complaint.
Is it
Zodiac,
comforting?
listening?
Well, Mike Pearson, Zodiac in the States. I think he just did a podcast with a blog to watch as well. So if you want to
Yeah.
learn more about Zodiac, he's a good man to learn it from. He's very passionate, new there.
Oh.
And yeah, you can send him a DM, Felix, tell him to change the crown spec. Just a special one for you, maybe.
Maybe we can make an OTLE where it's exactly the same. It's an LE of 1, and the crown is just changed to make me happier. Andy, what have you been doing with your life?
What have I been doing, Felix? Aside from dreaming up collaboration watches, I've been watching a TV series called The Rehearsal.
Oh, yeah?
It's a really odd documentary / comedy series. A little bit controversial for the.
Is it like The Office as a docu-commentary, or is it like actually a documentary?
It's a documentary that's kind of funny.
Okay.
Really odd host named Nathan Felder. I think he's done a bunch of other stuff, but it's basically the concept is he helps people rehearse for really kind of for just situations they struggle with. So one guy, I mean, I think that the first episode starts with a guy who is part of a trivia group, been part of it for 15 years, and he lied about his kind of college education, said he had a master's when he didn't. And it was one of those things where someone just assumed it and he went along with the lie for 15 years and he felt really embarrassed, and they kept sending him jobs that required that level of education. He didn't have it. And so he wanted to tell one of them just to say, oh, look, I went along with this 15 years ago and it's not true. And so the host kind of comes in, gets paid actors, he built a set of the bar where it would happen, and just kind of like cultivates through flowcharts like every single situation that could probably happen and things to say, and they just keep rehearsing it until they find a outcome through a series of different steps that works to what they want.
Mm.
So the first one, you go, oh, this is going to be like a new one every episode. And then after that, it just turns into, oh, this one spans 4 or 5 episodes. He then like involves himself and it gets really, really meta. Like there'll be actors playing actors that he's pretending to hire for something. And it's just so, odd and very intrusive to the people involved. Obviously, they all agreed to it, but it seems very intrusive. But the way they've edited it together is really quite wonderful. Like it is a very interesting and new concept. I think I've never seen anything like it, which I think is pretty rare, and that is why I have been enjoying it. I think everyone here should watch The Rehearsal.
Where can we watch it?
That's a good question. Google The Rehearsal.
Hey, that reminds me, the way you're talking about it, did you ever watch, I've just done a quick Google while you were talking, a show called The Review or Review with Miles Barlow?
No.
So which was a 2010 Aussie comedian, and they got picked up into an American series later on. But the concept was similar sort of thing, a comedy series where he would review things. Like in the first season, he gave stealing 3 stars.
Okay.
1 star to running out on your partner, 4 stars to dickheads, 1 star to bushranging. He only gave half a star to fishing without bait. Divorce, he gave 1 star. Budget airlines, he gave 1 star. It's very funny concept. Just to jack your ride, but seem the same sort of. It sounds the same to me, and it also worth a bit of a look.
It's worth exploring, Felix. Do you know what else is worth exploring?
I have a suspicion I know what you're about to say.
ArtemStraps.com, Artem.straps on Instagram if you want some visuals. Supporting today's episode of OT Podcast, as they have done every episode for 2022. So thank you, Artem Straps.
Yes. Hey, we can talk about the packets that they sent us a few episodes ago now.
Goodie bags.
Though, to be fair, to be 100% honest, Andy, I've moved house in the interim.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know where I put it.
Let's park that for next week because I have a nice Artem Strap story.
Oh.
I gave a watch to a friend of mine I handed it over for him to wear, and it was on a vintage shoot on the Blue Navy Artem NATO strap.
Yeah.
And I said, oh yeah, wear it, whatever. I didn't put it wasn't on the bracelet, so I didn't give him back the bracelet, whatever. Within 4 hours of him getting home, hey, what strap is this again? I said, why is that? It's amazing. It's wonderful. It's Artem Straps. They're really good, aren't they? He goes, yeah, it's quality. Looks good. And he's a guy who, he kind of typically just buys fun straps online, never really invested in, higher quality. He hadn't experienced that top tier strap, and he was impressed. So I think we've got another convert.
Love it. So I don't want to sort of tease what what they sent us and not talk about it. But because we should mention it, we'll do a proper discussion about it maybe next week. But the loopless straps, the sailcloth loopless straps, and I'm a very large fan of, now come
Mm.
in blue, Andy.
Oh, gorgeous blue at that as well. I think that's what my my Submariner Snowflake blue will go on when it comes back.
Sick. So check them out at artemstraps.com or artem.straps on Instagram. Andy, we should probably speak to someone else now.
The big man, Carson Chan, calling in from Hong Kong.
Yes.
Let's do it.
Little in the middle of his quarantine, so there might be an interruption or two in the episode. Carson Chan, collector, car lover, watch expert. He is a man of manners and many passions. He is the Fondation de la Haute Horloge's head of mission for Asia, which sounds like a pretty good gig, to be honest. Carson, welcome to OT the podcast. How are you?
I am good, Felix and Andy. Good to hear you guys. It's been, I think it's been at least 3.5 years since the last time I was in Australia.
Yeah, I think it's probably pushing 4 years. I think we caught up in Sydney.
Yeah, exactly. I think, didn't we met in Melbourne for whiskey, didn't we?
I think that was Sydney. I think that was a Sydney whiskey.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Carson, I think I met you in Hong Kong, actually, at Watches and Wonders in 2015.
Wow, that's scary. Some of the audience who are listening might be
I would have been born then.
the watch hobby yet.
I could be wrong, but I think you were talking about, I think we had you, this was like an old, like a Time and Tide video.
Oh, yes.
Talking about like Langer, maybe?
No. It was a Time and Tide thing. It was me explaining I have to do it within a minute to explain how mechanical movement works. Was that it?
Honestly, it's been a long time.
It sounds right for the time as well.
I thought it was Langer, so clearly my memory is not as good as yours. This is a great place not to get you to explain how a mechanical watch works in a minute. But maybe tell us a little bit about, or tell the people listening who you are and what you've been up to and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a perfect place to explain it because most of my friends and even my wife, they just don't understand what I do. So let me give a little bit of an update. I used to be the head of mission for the Fondation de la Haute Horlogerie, the FHH. About 12 months ago, I've changed my position. Now I am the chief advisor for the group. So I'm the chief advisor for the FHH currently. So moving out of a regional role into more of an international role. But honestly speaking, it's not much has changed. I keep on doing what I do. For those of you who are not familiar with the name FHH, you are probably familiar with one of our product. And what Felix just said, the Watches and Wonders, is one of the major event organized by the FHH. FHH basically at this moment, we're going through some structural change. But at this point, the FHH is under sort of two branches. FHH has two branches, one of which is an event organization, which is doing the Watches and Wonders, and previously it's called the SIHH and such. The other branch is cultural promotion and educational, and that's where I'm more involved in. Of course, you will see, if you've been following the Watches and Wonders, you see me every day on the Daily Show, because of various reasons. I need to help out on at that end of the business as well. But most of the time, I do educational and cultural promotion. To summarize it, my job is to make people want to buy a watch.
It's an important job.
Well, it's in 2022. I dare say I don't think anyone, no matter what amount of money you're spending, I don't think you're buying a watch to tell time.
Mm.
I think you're buying a watch there's a different reason, because time telling function has lost. I think significantly when the iPhone was launched in 2004. Was it
Mhm.
2004? I think no one really needs a watch to tell time anymore. For those of you who are a little bit older, in the 80s, in the 90s, you're still buying a watch because the primary reason to buy a watch is to tell time. I think that function has lost its importance. The priority has changed. So I think today, you need to kind of give that attraction or that um, appeal, especially to the younger generation, to explain what's so interesting about a mechanical watch. So that's basically my job. I love it. I'm a consultant for the FHH, so sometimes you will see me doing things with other partnership and such. That's because I'm a consultant, so I'm open to other partnerships as well.
Yeah, right. It's sounds like sort of the dream job for someone who's interested in watches and passionate and kind of keen to keep the industry surviving. You've done a lot of travel lately. We're talking to you. You're in your hotel quarantine at the moment. Probably going to get interrupted for a PCR at any minute now.
Yeah.
But where have you been, and what have you been up to?
So I mean, during the pandemic, I haven't stopped. I slowed down a lot, obviously. In the past 3 years, I've still been traveling. In 2020, I've just come back from Switzerland. There were a couple of things happening in Switzerland. First of all, in August, I spent a month there. So in August, I attended the Omega event in Crown Montana for the European Masters golf game. So I was invited. I joined the team just to have some fun, play some golf, uh, meet the Omega team, everybody from Malaysia to Switzerland, and then visited the Omega Museum, the new one. I've only been to the previous one. Did the Omega manufacturing visit, followed by the Geneva Watch Days. So saw not all of it, but most of it. So out of 34 brands, I think I've seen 28. And then following week, I've just gone all over La Chaux de Fonds, in Neuchâtel to visit all the manufacturers. Anyone that would take me, I went. So I went to the AP New Museum, the Automobile Museum, the new one. I went to GP and Ulysse Nardin, both the museum and the manufacturing. I went to Quorum,
Hmm.
and the most recent one was the one just happened a few days ago, was the Cartier manufacturer visit. So this was by far the most interesting trip that I have had in the past 10 years. So seeing a lot of things, looking at lots of different watches, and it's a change of scenery, because it's very different from Watches and Wonders. It's For those of you who are not familiar with the Geneva Watch Days, it takes place along in downtown Geneva, along the lake, and in different hotels or shops.
Hmm.
You walk outside, you get to, and the weather was just, I think the last day it had some rain, but throughout the week it was just phenomenal. It was a fantastic event. It's great.
Yeah, I think the last time I was in Geneva was warm and sunny January. For SI, was it? I think it was still SIHH. I think I didn't go to Watches and Wonders. So yeah, I can definitely see the appeal of like an August watch event in Switzerland. You said that the Cartier visit was a real highlight for you, and as someone that's gone to a few sort of manufacturers, they often tend to be very samey. Like their factories where they make fine watches, and they use a lot of the same techniques and machines. What did Cartier stand out for?
Well, first of all, most of the manufacturing facility I visited were, I would say, very niche. So the production number falls around under 10,000. Now, AP, I've been to Hublot. These are higher, from 30,000 to 70,000 pieces per year. Cartier is really my first mass manufacturing facility that I visited. They don't give an exact number, but I think I can give a rough estimate. We're talking about 700,000 and up, right?
Yep.
So this is my first one. This is the first one that I've seen in this scale. Interestingly, they have two sides of production. One in this very massive scale. The other side of it is a very high end, where it's a horlogerie workshop. There's only 35 to 40 people working there, so making everything from minute repeater to tourbillon, to all the high-end mechanical pieces that's being produced. It's off on a different site. Well, same site, but you walk 3 minutes. It's detached from the main building, and that is both eye-opening. First of all, the difference with the mass production. They are using state-of-the-art communication system. How they have a system where if they need to change a very small detail on the drawing, everything can be done from one desktop. Someone is changing it from, let's say, the engineering department wants to change the size of a screw. That the moment he changes it, everyone from the supplier, even people outside, from the vendor or the supplier, all the way to the QC, everything changes simultaneously. So that is a very, very impressive system to see in action. Other things are their machinery, how they manufacture, how they do CNC. It's just jaw dropping. It's very fast, is very efficient, but they balance it well. They do mass production, but they do it in such a good quality that the final product is extremely well done. So there are some things that you don't see in many manufacturing visits. I'll give you one example. If you haven't seen how to produce a dome crystal, um, I in the FHH role I teach, right. So sometimes I would talk about it, but I have never seen it in action. So this is the first time I see how they are using open flame to bend a mineral glass. So all the crash, if you look at the crash carefully, it's all dome shape, and it's cut in an asymmetrical shape. It's all done by hand and done by flame. They would burn it to a certain degree and bend it. It's. I have video. I'm going to post it later. I just need to organize it and make it
Make it
more
good, make it pop.
Yeah.
I want to come back to the videos in a second, and your Instagram. You've got two, but you've got the Watch Professor. I want to come back to the videos on there because I think that's something interesting. But this was a Cartier visit in particular. You had a bit of a crew with you. There was a couple of dozen people, but who was with you on the trip?
During the Cartier visit, we George Kramer, Chronos Japan, Chronos Korea. Wei was there. Uh, New York Times, Hodinkee, and the Europeans. I might not know their publication name. Some are only in Italian.
Some
From
good
Spain.
company.
Yeah. So there are about 20 some people. I want to say 23. I want to say about 23 of us.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Sounds like quite the Cartier crew. All right, so the Watch Professor on Instagram, a lot of reels. You kind of talked about the videos. You post a lot of video, reels, short form, kind of interesting content, and it's something I've really enjoyed from you, especially with watch fairs, making their return, the in-person watch fairs. But you do quite well. You do quite well in terms of the brands you post. You aren't afraid to kind of post brands that aren't Rolex or Patek or AP. Kind of, there's just a bunch of variety. Uh, you know, brands I've never, might not have heard of, brands other people might not have heard of. You've got jewelry on there. You've got interviews. You seem to be kind of having a lot of fun and being quite creative with the video content you've been putting out. What's the approach been?
So for the Watch Professor, some people keep asking me, "Are these your collection?" No, I own none of these watches. So every watch you see on Watch Professor, I do not own them.
Uh-huh.
So just want to put it out there.
Sure.
I I I rarely put any comments about these watches. This is what I used to do. I give the year that was produced, very basic technical information: the size, the case material, the movement, the power reserve, the limited edition, the price, and that's it. I don't want to be. I want to stay neutral. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to give any comment until just about a month ago. I had a chat with some people during this trip, and they're saying, well, they're not really talking about my account.
Yeah.
They were talking about how there are lots of information out there, but it doesn't really tell them what is your opinion. And I thought about it. I thought, okay, yeah, you have a point. So I've started putting my take, the Watch Professor's take. So if you look at the last maybe 5 or 6 posts, I started doing it. I would tell you what I think. Obviously, these are my opinion. So are they biased? Well, it's my opinion. I guess it's biased. But I want to at least give a word or two of what I think about the piece. Do I think it's interesting? Do I think something is lacking? Do I think something is too much? I'll say it because I think in a respectful way, the audience will find it more interesting to know what my take is. In recent Instagram platform, Reels became available. And I find it very interesting. You have to keep it very, very short. You cannot have it more than, I want to keep it under 20 seconds. And you want to, so you got to go with the video. You have to go to the most interesting aspect of it. And depending on how good you find the background music.
Yeah, it's what the kids want, isn't it?
Yeah. So you gotta run with the new generation, right? But more importantly, with Watch Professor, I think it's fun to learn. While I think it's more, it makes a much deeper impression if you learn while you're having fun. And this is my experience because I teach so much. If you're bored, if you don't want to be here, you're not going to learn. Everything I say is going to fly right above you, and you're not gonna retain any of these knowledge. So I took that idea and implemented onto the account. So if you've been using it, if you've been following the Watch Professor, you will see that I have started something called the Watch Professor Watch Idiot Savant WIS Academy.
Love
Um,
it.
and this is what I do every day. You will have 10 photos of different watches, which I photoshopped out the name or the brand name or the dial or whatnot. And you have to try to recognize the watch. So this only happens on the story, and I usually do it when I wake up in Hong Kong, so 8, 9 ish Hong Kong time, and it will last for 24 hours. If you score 100%, I ask the people to contact me on DM, and I will add them to the list. Now, what am I going to do with the list? I am planning. I'm planning fun, interactive, educational stuff in the future. So maybe short video talking about uh, oof, chronographs or perpetual calendar. I don't know
Mhm.
yet, but I'm gathering a group of watch enthusiasts. I think this is a very good way to siphon out the investors, quote
Mhm.
unquote, versus the enthusiasts. I think the enthusiasts will spend time, pay attention to new and old, vintage or not, and they most of the geeks will want to learn about the movement and whatnot. I'm not trying to just target the geeks. I want to separate the investors. I think people who are investing in watches, they have friends and professional people that they can rely on. I want to focus on the enthusiasts, the hobbyists, people who are genuinely interested in watches for its appeal and not for its investment angle. And in the future, we're going to do something fun.
Can I just say, while you were talking, I'm about halfway through the most
Me too.
recent.
Me too.
I am not 100% Carson.
I just got my first miss.
Yeah.
Oh, oh,
This is you
oh
two
no.
people answered, can't you, Carson?
Oh no. This is addictive.
This is yeah. Well, today it's a challenging one. I
Yeah,
simply because I'm in quarantine. I have a little bit more time.
this is hard. You've really made
Hang
this
on, I'll be
difficult.
back to you. Yes, Romanger. Oh, it's not
Stop
Harbour.
it.
I swear, is it the same designer as Romain Jerome?
I know, right? I know. There's Vacheron.
First one was the first one where I just put the wrong one in because I wasn't paying attention. But the other mistakes were 100% my own, and I've got to own them. Gosh, that's very much recommended. That's incredible, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait to try and make it on the list.
I got 80% next week. I'll have to do better.
And I can't wait to see what you do with it. I just want to sort of pick your brains for an attention span slightly longer than social media.
Right.
You've been doing this for a long time, and you've sort of seen the swings and roundabouts of the industry. You've seen the Apple Watch, the financial crisis, all this sort of stuff comes and goes. What do you think we're looking forward to in the next few years of the watch industry? Are there any sort of big challenges or maybe opportunities on the horizon?
I think you will hear a lot of brand trying to get onto what's hip. You will hear a lot of the word sustainability.
Hmm.
You're going to hear a lot of mentioning about NFT. Personally, I am not sure how. I think NFT will work. Well, if you're into NFT, I think the NFT factor, NFT-ness, uh, to combine with high-end or mechanical watchmaking has one. Well, I only see one way to combine the both. It's the authenticity of it, and it
Hmm.
has to be driven by the brand. I think if the three of us get together and say let's start doing watch NFTs, I don't think it'll work. I think it has to be coming from the brand. If Rolex is doing an NFT for authentication, maybe it'll work. So I think just watch out. I think you're going to hear more and more, but I encourage everybody to firstly understand what is NFT.
Yeah.
Secondly, understand what the brand is talking about. I've heard some brands are talking about NFT projects and such, and it just doesn't make sense. Okay.
Yeah.
The second thing is with sustainability. How do we do? What are we doing? We already have these structures in place with the RJC, the Responsible Jury Council,
Mm.
the Fair Mind Gold, all these things. How do they implement it, and what is the transparency of these? Again, I think the newer generation will find it very interesting, but how much effort do you put in, and how do you communicate it? I think it's very important. And I think sustainability does not come into a form where you only hold the product, which is the watch, and you say this is a sustainable watch product. It has to start from the manufacturing process, right? Everything from sourcing to manufacturing to recycling, this has to go into it. Now, they have to make it easy to communicate, easy to understand, and for client to appreciate it. I give you a good example. I think the Cartier Solar Beat is a good example, right? It's a product that takes solar energy, and they guarantee a minimum life of 16 years. They are not using an animal product to make the strap anymore. It's an Apple waste product to produce it, and the result speaks for itself. I think you I don't think you can walk into any Cartier and just pick one up. I think you need to put on a rating list. That is not the watch is not a super expensive watch. I think it's about 15,000 Hong Kong. I don't know
Yeah.
what that is in
Yeah. It's about
Singapore.
4,000 or 5,000 Aussie.
Yeah, less, right? Wait,
I think that watch retails around that, maybe
okay,
less. I
I
could
think
be.
it's less, Felix. I think it's like 4.
Yeah.
okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's not a super duper expensive watch, but you see when there's a waiting queue for it, you know it's doing well on the market, and it's actually I actually want one.
Yeah.
So this is a good example. And there are brands that just keeps on talking about sustainability and doesn't really. I first okay. If you look at um, uh, the most basic sustainability topic, like Swatch, they would do a packaging or something that they're talking about how it's look at the bio ceramic. They are using different material to try. Okay, here comes the PCR.
Here we
Give
go.
me a minute.
Hold that thought.
I'll smooth.
Done.
Done.
Wait, they don't mess around.
No, it's well, they don't want to stay too long.
Sure.
They 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 have the impression that they think I'm infected, so they want to just get out of here and run.
Makes sense.
Get moving. Now that you're back, I'm going to ask you a sustainability question that has been on my mind, and I've been looking for a good excuse to bring it up with Felix. Everyone has been seeing the news about Patagonia and the founder CEO kind of gifting the company into a foundation to continue on sustainability and charitable work. Didn't want to keep the business, didn't want to have any succession plan. Hans Wildorf did that with Rolex. And I think it's really interesting parallel because, you talk to people at Rolex, you dig into Rolex, you read some of their other press releases. They do a lot, in the arts, for charity, for sustainability, for the environment. Like that, they are invested. No one really knows how much they put out there. But that's sort of the purpose of Rolex, is just to continue on and kind of continue that sort of level of philanthropy. Do you think we're going to see more of that in the luxury goods space? Did Hans inspire the Patagonia CEO? What's your take as an insider?
Well, I think definitely we are moving toward that way. You can see various brands. Just rewind a year and a half ago, when we are entering into the pandemic, I think various groups are donating their resources to help uh, Bulgari stop making perfume and change the plant into making sanitizing hand gel, right? Richemont and LVMH, they all chipped in. Swatch, they also did something with the pandemic as well. I think this is corporate responsibility, slightly different from sustainability, but I do think it is something that the industry needs to focus on. Going back to what I said about how watches no longer functional, um, I should rephrase. It's not that it's non-functional. It's, I think, the functionality of it. Um,
Redundant.
be not it's the priority of it. It's lowered. You buy a watch, you will tell time. I don't know about you, but for my wife's watch, if it's quartz
Mm.
and if it's out of battery, I will take the battery out and not put a new battery in,
Hmm.
just for the sake of not worrying about leaking and stuff.
Mm.
She would wear it. She doesn't care if it's running or not. She just wants the looks,
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
right? So this gives a big, this is a huge change. So the industry obviously is heading into a different direction for the brands who are still communicating by functionality, saying, really talking about the function of it. I think they're a little bit detached. I think we need to start looking at as we need to start looking at mechanical watches as art pieces. So this is very simple. If we stop talking about watches for a little bit and just move to paintings. If you like paintings, what do you need? Some people would say, "Well, I need money to buy a painting." Yeah, you sure you do. You need money, but I think first and foremost important of all is you need knowledge to appreciate painting. You want to understand what that painting stands for. You want to understand what an artist has gone through, his challenges to appreciate his artwork. If you are a student, you might not be able to afford that painting. So you go to the gift shop and buy a print for 30 quid, right? And you just buy that print, and I'm sure you, when you were a teenager, you can't afford something, you just buy a poster and you hang it on your wall and admired it. That is, we are going through the same thing at the moment, I think.
I
And
mean,
I think
even
all the CEO needs to understand this, instead of pushing it in a very 1980s way of talking about watches. And I do feel there is a disconnection. Everyone from the CEO level all the way down to the shop salesperson level. How many times do you hear people selling you a watch saying, "Oh, Mr. Chan, this is a nice watch. This is round case with a blue dial. It will go nicely with your suits." This is not how you sell a painting. You never
Mm.
walk to a gallery and say, "Well, this is a rectangular painting,
Hmm.
120 by 100. It will look very nice on your wall." Instead, you would talk about the painter, what period this painter was trained, how he was trained, what sort of challenges he has to overcome, what style of painting he's producing. And then you might talk about the auction prices on the painting and such. But you see what I'm getting at. It's the industry is still very much, one foot in the last century and one foot in this century. But we need to start moving on to what's coming up next. Um, I might be getting a little bit off topic, but let me stay on this for a little bit. I think it's also interesting to understand that you don't, for the consumer. A lot of people a lot of people, especially those who are not watch geeks, they feel a little bit intimidated by the watch nerds and geeks because they don't know anything about the movement. They don't worry, because you just like if we're staying on to the topic of paintings, you don't need to be a painter to critique a painting, right?
Yeah.
It's no, you don't. So you can, as a consumer, you can critique a painting purely based on aesthetics
Mm.
and not on technique, right? You could look at a Picasso and you go, ew, I hate this because it's not gonna look good in my living room. I don't care if it's the real thing or if it's a print, or if it's a poster. I don't like it. Yeah, you can do that, but you need a little bit of um, a foundation, and this foundation is knowledge, it's information, right? And I think I am in a very good position to help those people who want to develop this hobby, this interest, with building a little bit of, empower them with a little bit of knowledge, then they can grow on their own. I'm not trying to say, look, what I like, you should like, right? I could teach you all about collecting painting, and then you develop your own taste. You develop your own collection, how you want to do your painting, and you know how you collect your artworks. Same as watches, but you kind of have to have a little bit. You need to be able to differentiate. This is oil painting. This is
Yeah.
pencil. This is a print. This is all these basic things that you need to understand. And what falls in the category as contemporary painting, contemporary art. What is classical painting? What is ink? You need some basic um, um, foundation for you to start moving. So I very much would like to be there to assist anyone who has that interest to develop a hobby into a passion. I think a lot of brands are putting too much of their marketing in building a using yesterday's hero to build sort of a dream. I don't know if I'm saying it right.
Mm.
If you look at watches in communication, we see a lot of brands using, oh, this racing driver from 1960s, this
Yeah.
mountaineer, dude, 1960s. I wasn't even born yet, right? So I think the relevancy is evaporating, and I think brand is now struggling to find a new uh, what's it called, relevancy to
Yeah.
speak to the new generation.
Mm.
I want to keep talking about the mountaineers from the 50s.
But I mean that's the fundamental problem, Carson, because that's when watches will last relevant, and I think they're struggling. I'm not disagreeing with you or anything, but they're struggling to find the next way to communicate. It's the same with design. Like they're still not even marketing; they're still creating the same watches from the
Yeah.
1950s and 60s.
Reissues, just relying on history to sell watches today.
So I think on the market, we have two very polarized direction. You have MB&F,
Mm-hmm.
none of his watch looks normal, or none of Mac's product looks traditional. And then you have something like Rolex, which is, they changed the font by 1/10 of a millimeter, and the collectors go, "Ooh, it's I don't understand." But anyway, you have two school of, which is fine. Which, coming back to art, it's contemporary art, or you have someone who's still painting classical art. Fine. Now, to to appreciate it, I think the focus needs to shift from being able to reach certain temperature or height or depth in the ocean and whatnot. I think the interest or the focus now should be on um, the uh, the mechanical um, attraction.
Mm.
And for that to work, again, you need to have a little bit of understanding of the mechanism. Why is it? What is attractive about a Rolex? I don't think anybody would talk about the polishing on a Rolex movement.
I think most people have seen the movement.
Yeah, exactly. But it's because you, Andy, Felix, and Carson, we know what we're talking about. And that sentence, nobody will talk about Rolex movement finishing. I mean, this few words seems very clear to us, but can you imagine someone is dropping in and they're just new to watches. They have no idea what we're talking about.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to make it fun, make it interesting for people to know, um, a little bit, give them a little bit of empowering instead of all the marketing talk. The the mainstream media, watch media, that is still very much talking about how good a brand is.
Mm.
This
Yeah.
brand is awesome. This CEO is very insightful. He is visionary. He da 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 da. I mean, it's, if everybody is good and insightful, like why am I reading your media, your magazine or your blog?
It's interesting, right? Because it's a luxury good, and I feel like part of the easy answer to why is, well, maybe because they're significant purchases and people should be informed, and they really need to know all these details if you're dropping 200 or 20 grand or 10 grand. But then I compare it, if you put the lens of art on there, well, people will pay hundreds of millions of dollars for art. They'll pay tens of thousands or 20,000 or hundreds of thousands. It doesn't really matter. It's completely up to the individual, and if they like it and they want it and they have the money, and they'll just buy it because they go, "This is beautiful. I want it." And it's the same for other luxury goods. Like, no one can sit there and say a Birkin bag, it's the best leather and it's the best construction. It's not. It's, handbags are something that, it's 3, 5, 20, $50,000. It doesn't really matter what it is. If the customer likes it, they just buy it, and they're not worried about, oh, did I spend my money wisely? Because, well, it's leather and string and maybe a bit of, brass or something holding it all together, and they just buy it.
No.
Whereas a watch,
Yeah.
no?
Go, Andy.
You don't agree?
No.
On what point?
Well, I think that you might have been about to sort of say what I was about to say, but I think someone's buying a Birkin bag or someone's
Yeah.
buying so let me say someone is spending significant amount of money on something that they could get much cheaper. You could, you know, somewhere else, like a Birkin bag or I don't know, a bag from Target that does the same thing. They're
Mm.
buying the Birkin bag because of
Status.
status,
Yeah.
because of all that marketing money that's been spent for the last couple of 100 years
Yep.
to build that brand up. And I think
Well, that's the same as if it was art, right? You buy the
exactly
art
the
because of the
gallerists
artist.
and yeah. So yeah, I don't think that that's
Yeah.
why everyone's going, hey, this CEO's a visionary. No one ever is negative about this brand because their business model is, I mean, it's just the thing with Rolex, that old joke about, it's a marketing company that happens to make watches.
Mm. And
Here-
maybe
here-
that's the art. Maybe that's the art.
Yeah.
Here's my take. Andy, you're right. People are
Yeah.
buying Birkin bags because, and I even dare to say 85-90% of people buying Birkin bags are attracted to the ability of the bag retaining and increasing in value.
Mm.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many people buying Birkin bags to appreciate the craftsmanship and really look at the stitching. My previous life before I joined the luxury industry, I was making toys, so I had to measure how many stitches are there in an inch. So I'm kind of a nerd when I look at stitchings, right?
Hmm.
Um, but if we can take that example and move to cars, you have tons of people buying supercars that have zero idea on how to drive it,
You're right. You're right.
right? They don't know how to drive it, and they just want to show off that they have this 1,000 horsepower car. First of all, they can't handle 1,000 horsepower. They are either going to kill themselves, or they're going to kill someone else, or get locked up in jail because they break the law driving too fast, yada yada. But they want it. They want it because the car is loud. It's a status symbol, and this is not a money making, because you buy these cars, it's going to depreciate, right? You have to remember, why are they buying these cars? Is because of the um, the the KOL, or the people who are passionate about cars, that gives extra value to these cars. If you're talking about Ferrari, if you're talking about Lamborghini, these are big marketing machines. But if you're talking about smaller car company, um, Noble, or Pagani, right, or even McLaren, I think these are really into taking care of the customer. They want to show you how to drive it. They will bring you to the circuit to teach you how to drive it. And I think the watch industry is the same. It's no difference. You need to have quality consumer to help you on top of the marketing that you're driving. You want that quality consumer to help you drive the market, and that quality consumer uh, pool, it's shrinking. You need to cultivate it. You need to take care of them, and I want to take care of that group for the watch industry, because again, moving there is no more need for a watch. There's no more need. There's only want, right? So if you think about this, in with a consumer, in all of the consumer goods, I can only think of watches. That is the only category that has gone through this change, going from a need into a want. You used to, in the 1950s, everybody needs a watch, right? Everybody need a watch. Now you don't need a watch. You want a watch. And this shift, you can I honestly, to the audience, to the listener out there, you can think of another category, let me know. I can only think of this, because watches. Sorry, because let's say jewelry, art. These are all want. You never need it. So there hasn't been this transformation in those category, and this transformation creates a challenge for the industry to that they need to cope with this change. And I think that change is very, very significant in the past decade. And it will be even more if they don't change it. I think if they don't change the strategy, uh, how can the watch industry, high end watch, mechanical watch industry, survive? Right? There's no more reason for it to survive. It becomes it becomes a collectible, and I think it's sad if you're just looking at a watch, purely looking at how much money can I make when I buy this watch. I hate that. I don't like it.
Hmm.
I think it's a first and foremost important of all, it's a hobby. It's not a necessity anymore. It's something that you want. It's a hobby. In a hobby, if the money in the investment angle comes along with it, that's fine. That's great. But I don't think that should be the driving force um, in it. But I know pragmatically, majority of the people are attracted by this. Suddenly, everybody's in love with Epi Jaune. I sold all mine.
Yeah,
way,
really.
yeah. I didn't like it in the beginning. I'm not. I mean, do I feel bad? No. I mean, I don't like it. I don't like it. Right. I sold it, and it had a lot of problem. If you it suddenly everyone thinks it's gold. It's really the Grail watch. I didn't feel that way 15 years ago, so I'm not going to feel the same now,
Yeah,
just because the value has changed, right?
yeah, 100%. Slight pivot, though perhaps related. We mentioned a bit before recording, and I'd like to sort of pick up on it with this frame of reference. We're getting to that time of the year where we talk about the Oscars of watchmaking, the Grand Prix de Horlogerie de Genève. What do you think about the competition this year, and more broadly the state of the competition? Is it what we need?
Well, I have been on mm, different seats in the with the Grand Prix. I was in the jury. I'm now in the academy, and before that, I was an audience. Right, so I've seen it from multiple or different angles. This year, I'm a little bit concerned, because when I received the list to put in my first round of votes,
Mm.
Uh, a
I didn't.
big chunk of the watches, big chunk of it, I don't recognize, and I'm worried because if I don't recognize any of them, I mean, how can the general consumer recognize them, right?
I'll be
Um,
honest. I felt the same,
yeah,
so I didn't. I
Oh,
yeah.
didn't. I didn't continue.
You didn't continue. Well,
Didn't vote.
I had a quick chat with a couple of the jury members while I was in Geneva this just past week. I think the structure of it can be improved. I think currently you need to submit your watch and you need to pay an entry fee
yeah.
to participate. Now, if the Grand Prix can um, think of another way to sustain itself, I think this money it's is has a lot to do with how they are keeping the expenses with the Grand Prix.
It's not a particularly large fee, I seem to recall.
Um,
Adds up, I'd say.
I could be. I
yeah,
guess.
yeah, yeah. I agree with Andy. I think it adds up, right? So you
Yeah.
want a lot of people to come in, but just putting it out in the open. If you are in the Grand Prix, if you are listening to this, this is my idea. Instead of getting brands to pay to come in, um, we don't do that. We the academy member, the jury member, select what you like without the brand saying whether they want to be in or not. Because you look at the history of the Grand Prix. Patek used to be in. I think did Rolex come in ever?
No,
I
I
don't
don't
think
think.
Rolex ever has.
Patek sort of dipped in and
You
out.
Patek did. Patek did. Patek was one of the one was a winner in one year. But I think it needs to be more um, not the word not more has more credibility.
Yeah.
Instead of having everything that you see is becoming it's sort of like a micro brand a GP, right? It's a Grand Prix for the micro brand. Like
Yeah.
none of the big brands are there anymore. So I think it's the structure of it. If they could change that, not having brand to submit their watches, but instead the academy and the jury member can go out and nominate what they like. I think that would change it. Obviously, the operational question is, well, how do you generate funding for the group? So I don't know if getting a non-watch brand. Well, they already have insurance. They have a bank.
Yeah.
We get a car brand to come in to support the group.
GPHG brought to you by Lloyd's.
Lloyd's and BMW
Yeah.
and yeah, and the it used to be it was LGT Bank. It was the LGT group during my days with the GPHG. But I think that might be able to solve it to make it bring back more a more broader audience instead of just very um, micro brands. It's sort of like a micro brand playground now. Uh,
Mm.
I still pay attention to it because it's still there are quality jury members on the board, and I think is it's still something that it has some value to it. I would just like to see it change into what we are experiencing in the market, where it moves along, uh, you know, uh, becoming more adapted to the environment now. So yeah, I think it can improve. I think it's kind of what I see this year is a bit uh, lackluster, but I still respect it because I've been in there. I know the process is very very clean, very, very fair. But I want more brands to be in it instead of
Yeah.
just local brands.
Yeah, I agree. I think it could be really become the Oscars of the watch industry again. Like it could be a lot. It could be a
I
lot
don't
better.
know. I don't know how the entertainment industry works. I don't know if like
I mean, I think there's similar discussions happening, certainly with the Golden Globes. Like, there's a lot of issues with that competition as well, and
Emmys then, Felix, Ted Lasso, four Emmys. So obviously the Emmys are doing it right because they.
any self-select anyone that's done by entry only. I mean, it's a big challenge, isn't it? Hey,
Instagram story poll. There we go. Figured it out.
yeah.
Carson, the question we ask our guests to wrap with a chat. It's been lovely, nearly an hour with you. And it's nearly dinner time. So we're going to ask you for a recommendation on something that you've been enjoying. You are quarantining, so I imagine you've got some stuff lined up to keep you busy. But it could be anything that you've been kind of getting some joy out of: podcast, book, TV series, audiobook. I don't know what it is, but there's something that you've been enjoying that you think everyone listening right now would also enjoy.
Not watches.
Oh, it can be a watch, sure. Give us a watch you've been enjoying. The expert take.
I am really, because thanks to Omega, it's funny. Omega asked, "Hey Carson, do you play golf?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oof, I can. Why?" And then they told me the event that they have. Now I play golf when I was living in California, and that was my go-to thing to do when I ditch my class, because it's so inexpensive. It's $5 to play 18 holes.
wow.
So my golf skills completely developed because of me ditching classes from university. I stopped playing, but then this round of golf really reignited my interest. So I've been watching a lot of PGA golf on YouTube.
Oh, I like that.
And yeah, so it's been, when we're done, I'm going to go back to my PGA golf channel on YouTube and watch that. So
Nice.
that's something that I've been, and I'm just dying for Hong Kong weather to go back. It's 34 today. It's
Wow.
crazy. It's 34. We're usually in September, we're cooler now, but it's still 34. There's a motorcycle event end of this month, and I looked at a very, like a 14-day forecast, and it says 29. It's so hot. I don't know if I'm gonna ride to that event or just call a tow truck, tow a motorcycle there, and I'll meet you there.
Yeah,
But
don't want to catch fire.
I'm waiting for the cooler weather in Hong Kong, and Stephen DeLucchi in Hong Kong, head of Omega in Hong Kong, says that when the weather cools down, we're gonna play a round of golf. His handicap and mine are very, very similar. So I'm very happy, very excited. I found a golf buddy. So
Quick question, off script. I know we're going to go. If John Daly was a watch brand ambassador, what watch brand would it be?
7 Friday.
Boom.
That was quick. I feel like he could be Hublot. I feel like he could do
anyone.
a Hublot deal, and it would work for them.
Too posh. No. It's got to be 7 Friday. Yeah.
Love that answer, Carson. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the golf when you can get out and hit a round or two. We will, of course, link everything up. Link up your socials. Link up the Watch Professor, and other people can experience the joy and pain of getting watch brands wrong. Been great to chat to you.
Excellent. You guys have a good day too.
You too, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Andy, Carson Chan, clever man, wonderful to talk to, deviser of fiendish Instagram quizzes.
Oh, just he's a guy you could have a 10-parter with, I reckon.
Yeah.
The knowledge he has, the interest he has, the enthusiasm, and he has a genuine care for kind of growing the watch industry, as part of the job.
Yeah.
But there's that passion there, and getting, people and new generations and new markets involved in watches. So he's doing the watch lord's work.
Yeah, exactly. Carson, lovely to chat to you. Artem, thank you for sponsoring as always. Everyone else, thank you so much for listening. Consider sharing it with a friend.
Yeah, tell your friends. Leave a 5-star review. Join our Discord, which we probably should have mentioned. Of course, buy Artem Straps, the only straps that you should be putting your watch on. We'll see you next week.
I should have also talked about my excellent story on wrist check.
Next week, Felix.
Next week.
Bye.